All right. Hello and welcome to our first of 5 webinars for the Booth Camp series. So my name is Christy Schmidt and I work in the member education department. So working on creating all of these really interactive and exciting webinars. So this series was designed to help you prepare for your best show ever. From the operations to creating buzz around your booth, to actually working your booth and talking to those buyers and getting learning how to follow up with all of those leads. We cover everything in this Booth Camp series with the support from SFA staff and seasoned exhibitors they've seen it all and they've been on the show floor before. So we're here to support you every step of the way. So for today's session, we are going to be diving into all things logistics. We reviewed those questions that you submitted during registration and built today's slides around these topics. The other thing, you should have also received an email with a packet of information about logistics to help you get show ready. And if you have not received that, please send a quick email to education@specialtyfood.com. So now I'm excited to introduce one of the key people who make the show run as just incredibly smooth, Michelle Hilton, manager of trade shows. So Michelle is going to walk us through some of the top questions that we received in the registration, and that includes sampling, shipping, and drayage. And then after we run through those, we're going to open up the floor to questions. So feel free to keep on putting those questions in the chat function. All righty, Michelle, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you.
So
Thanks, Christy.
the first thing that we are going to be talking about is sampling. So Michelle, a lot of the questions around this were about what kinds of samples are allowed, how do I
Okay.
store my products, how many should I have? So can you just run through that information
Yes.
for us?
Sure. Okay. Probably the biggest takeaway from sampling is exhibitors can only sample products they manufacture, produce, and distribute. Exhibitors who do not directly manufacture, produce, or distribute the product, you can only offer food and beverage samples if they are bought through Cultivated. Cultivated is our in-house catering company through Javits. So if you are going to have, say your product is a sauce and you need a cracker to put to add to it for your sampling, you actually have to purchase those crackers through Cultivated. You can't bring your own. That's a major takeaway from this. You can find the food and beverage sampling form along with the alcohol and non-alcohol sampling forms on your dashboard. And you can also find it on the Exhibitor Services Hub. And remember, you cannot sample if you do not submit that form, and that deadline is May 29th.
Awesome. And just as a note for everyone in the call, you're going to see some of the text that is like pink and underlined and bolded. Those are actual clickable links. The one thing I will say though is that some of the links are in Map Your Show, so make sure that you're signed in when you're signed in elsewhere on your computer before clicking on those links. So that way you can get right to the form that you need. All right. And then Michelle, a lot of the questions are about like the amount of samples or like the sizes. So can you run through that for us?
Of course. So food, if you're doing food, right? Food samples, 2-ounce bite-sized portions. Non-alcohol is 4-ounce portions. Plastic cups, no cans and bottles. So if you have an energy drink, you cannot give away a bottle of your drink. You actually have to put it in a plastic cup, 4-ounce portions. And then with the alcohol, this is the tricky part. And it's very important. If your product is alcohol, sampling permitted only for manufacturers, distributors of the product, 2-ounce portions for beer and wine, 0.25 ounces portions for liquor. And again, plastic cups, no cans and bottles. And if you are serving alcohol, this requires a cultivated bartender. You cannot serve it by yourself. You will be asked to, they'll shut you down and ask you to go and hire a bartender. And you actually have to hire it through Cultivated. Also, you cannot ship alcohol directly to the convention center, you must ship through a local distributor. And after submitting your sampling form, a cultivated representative will contact you.
So, all right. Thank you for that. So
Okay.
then next thing is all things shipping. It's how do
Yes.
I get my stuff there?
Uh-huh.
If you want to just run through those pieces
Yeah, of
too.
course. This is a big one, right? Everyone wants to know, how do I get my stuff to the convention center? Um, the first option is the warehouse. If you can ship between May 27th and June 19th, that's going to be the easiest way and probably the best way for you. This way you can ship directly to the Freeman warehouse. Freeman will then take your product and bring it to the Javits Center, and they will deliver it to your booth. That's the first way. But this is only for non-perishable items only, because the warehouse is not temperature controlled. The second way is show site. So if you want to ship directly to the Javits Center, Freeman will begin receiving shipments to the Javits Thursday, June 26th. You cannot ship prior to that. They will not accept it prior to that. All common freight carriers and vans must check in at the marshaling yard. Make sure you're telling your folks that. And drivers are assigned a number according to the check-in time and will be dispatched once a dock is available. Also, let them know they might have to wait in line. A lot of truckers, a lot of trucking companies, they won't wait in line. So you want to make sure that they know that it can definitely happen for you. The third way is hand carry. So if you have small product, if you're in a 10 by 10, if you're in a partner pavilion, incubator village, something small where you don't have a lot of product, you can hand carry your stuff in. Remember, you can only use 2 wheels, no 4-wheel dollies, only 2 wheels. Security will stop you if you have something with 4 wheels. And you can, I think it's 30-minute time slots. You can pull in to the inner roadway, you park there for 30 minutes, you're allowed to bring your stuff in and come back out. You can't save an hour, you can't say an hour and a half, it's 30 minutes. And again, 2 wheels only. And small packages, this is actually a big one. A lot of folks decide to ship FedEx or UPS. We want you to know that the convention center is not guaranteed the shipping times they promise you. So if you're looking at your tracking slip and it says, hey, it's going to be the Javits Center by 2 p.m., I can start setting up by 3. That doesn't usually happen. So just make sure that you probably don't want to use FedEx or UPS. If I were you, I would send it to your hotel first and then walk it over. I wouldn't use FedEx or UPS if you can get around it. I wouldn't. Please don't ship FedEx or UPS.
Okay. All right. So much good
Yes.
information. And again, just to remind you guys, all of this is in that packet. So it's take some time to digest and
Yes.
strategize and figure those pieces out. So then,
I'm sorry, Krista, can you go back one more?
yeah, absolutely.
Right. I actually left out an important piece is the EDV program.
Oh,
So if
yeah.
you don't want, right. So if you don't want to walk it in, right. If you don't want to hand carry, everything is too heavy. If you don't want to ship it with a carrier, you can actually drive your car, station wagon, van, pickup truck. You can drive it to the back of the Javits in the EDV program area, and Freeman will unload it for you, and they'll take it to your booth. The total freight weight must not exceed 500 pounds for this program. This is a big one. A lot of our exhibitors take advantage of this, and this is an important one. Thank you, Krista.
Yeah, no problem. So then the other thing that's I'm wondering that people were wondering about is drayage. Could you just kind of go through like what to expect with that?
Yes. So drayage, material handling, both the same thing. It's the unloading of your shipment, transporting it to your booth, and storing and returning your empty crates and cartons. What the SFA actually does for exhibitors, which is great, we cover the cost of 200 pounds of drayage for each 10 by 10 booth. So for example, it would be for a 20 by 20, your booth would receive 800 pounds of complimentary material handling at no charge. This is a big one. A lot of show producers don't do that for their exhibitors. So definitely take advantage of that. And then also always remember all items and materials that are brought into the facility may be subject to material handling charges. If Freeman has to touch your product and deliver it to your booth, then there is going to be a fee.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So those were like the huge questions. So now
Yeah.
I can see the questions coming in. So give me 2 seconds to kind of look through things. But another question that I know commonly comes up is what are the rules around like booth height or in like decor, branded tablecloth? Like what is that like? What are the rules around that?
Okay, so for booth rules and regulations, you can find that always in your dashboard, or you can find it in the exhibitor services hub, right? You have different types of booths. For linear booths, your back wall can go up to 8 feet, and your side panels can be 4 feet. Anything that is in the rear, I'm sorry, in the first half of your booth cannot exceed 5 feet. If it does, you have to push it back, and that's for the line of sight. And then you also have your large booths, which a lot of the people on this call probably don't have the large booths. The 20 by 20s are larger, and they can build up to 16 feet. So there are different rules depending on the size of your booth and where it's located. For partner pavilions and incubators, you can bring a tablecloth that goes over the counter or the table. Actually, anyone can do that, but for the most part, all of you can do that, and I would advise you to do that. And you can also bring a drape or a sign if you were in a 10 by 10 or larger. There's no pop-ups allowed for anybody that's in a booth smaller than a 10 by 10. And again, I would advise you to go to the exhibitor services hub and just look through those booth rules and regulations.
All right.
Okay.
So we have we have a bunch coming in about sampling. So let's just kind of jump into those. So
Okay.
most people's samples like pre-packaged or are they poured like prior to or do they do it on site?
For the pre-packaging, it would already come that way, right? So if you have a bag of chips, you bring your bag of chips with you. Pouring, most times it happens on site. There, you could pour like at your booth. And again, you want to make sure you're using those sample plastic cups. Again, you're not putting it, you're not giving anybody a full bottle or can. Just want to make sure you're using those plastic cups.
Okay. Someone asked, can they do 1 ounce food sample portions rather than the two?
Yes, you can definitely do smaller. You just can't do larger.
Okay. No big bites, guys. Gotta keep it bite size.
Right.
So there is a couple, I think that's good. So I think we have a couple more about booths. Do the booths come with tables or do they need to provide their own? What comes with their booth? What do we provide?
Okay, so in the deck that you actually all received, there are some booth packages that are listed there. If you're in a 10 by 10 or larger, you can order the complimentary booth package. It's only going to be comp if you get it in between May 29th, before May 29th. That comes with chairs, tables, chairs, a wastebasket, a sign, and carpet. If you don't order it ahead of time, then you will have to pay for it or bring your own furniture. For Incubator Village, for Partner Pavilions, for startups, those all come with different packages. And if you fall into those categories, please look at that deck and you'll be able to see like what comes with your booth.
Right. And then related to that package, is there, does Freeman bring that to them? Is their booth
Yes.
set up?
Yeah. So if you get in your comp booth package form before May 29th, or if you end up missing it and then purchasing it, Freeman will have it ready for you. There'll be pipe and drape in the back of you'll come in, there'll be pipe and drape there. Your tables, your chairs, your wastebasket, the carpet, and the sign will all be there waiting for you when you get there.
Okay. And then is there any special permits for like cardboard displays or like shelves or like additions to your booth?
There's not permits per se, but there definitely are rules with labor. And that is something that you should definitely go to the booth rules and regulations on the website or within the dashboard and you need to make sure that you read that. If you are using a tool of any sort, you're going to have to hire labor to do that for you. You cannot build the shelf by yourself. You can't build a big sign by yourself. You can't build anything in your booth by yourself. You have to hire labor. So if that's something that you have questions about, you can either go to the Exhibitor Services Hub, or you can actually email operations@specialtyfood.com, and we can help you through that.
Okay. Another question is about retractable banners or things like that. Are those allowed at tabletop booths, or just like the typical 10 by 10 booths?
No, there's no banners, no pop-ups available. I'm sorry, at the startups, the 5x10s, yes, but they have to be pushed back to the very back of the wall. Incubators and partner pavilions, no. 10x10s and larger, yes.
Okay. What about like stickers or foam board? Like, can that stuff be added to the booth, or is that something, is that more, are those things that
Yeah,
they can see in their
you
exhibit?
could add that. There are rules with just, if you're gonna do something with foam board, I would just, again, email operations, and maybe just send a photo so we can see what's going on and what you want to use.
And you would send that to operations?
Yeah, send that to operations, and then we'll be able to answer that for you.
Okay, awesome. So we're gonna bounce back to sampling stuff. We're gonna keep you running shows. So one person said that they need to cook their product for sampling. Do they need to order additional ingredients like chicken via cultivated?
Yes, if
If it's
you're
like a
well,
sauce?
if cooking has to be happen in a commercial kitchen, right? But if you need something else to go with your product that you do not manufacture, you have to order that through cultivated.
And then what about like cooking materials? Like, can they have like electric fryer, air fryer, like that kind of stuff at their booths?
Yes, you can have at your booth. If it's electric, if anything that plugs in, you will not need a open flame permit. But if you're using tea lights, if you're using candles, if you using, there's some people that actually have like a handheld butane torch, something that has a flame, you'll actually have to contact me at mhilton@specialtyfood.com for an open flame permit. We'll get you the permit. The fire marshal walks around, make sure that you have it, and then you'll have a fire extinguisher at your booth.
These things are all on their checklist, right? On the
Yeah,
exhibit.
the
Okay.
checklist. Yes.
So there's a lot, guys. We're throwing so much at you. So please, that exhibitor checklist is it's what you need to be keeping an eye on.
Yes.
All right, another, do they source their own plastic cups for sampling, or is that something that they need to buy through cultivated?
You can do either one. You can bring your own, or you can purchase it through cultivated.
Okay. Let's see. Just looking through. So there are a
Yeah.
lot of questions about the EDV program.
Yep.
First is that a free program or is that paid?
It is. So for the first 200, right? 200 with the drayage, it goes the same way. So for 200 for every 10x10 booth, Freeman will unload it, bring it to your booth. If it's over, so say you have a 10x10 booth and you have more freight, your freight weighs more than 200 pounds, then whatever it is, you'll be charged. So say your freight weighs 300 pounds and you get 200 free, you'll be charged for 100. So it's free up to the drayage that you're allotted for your booth. After that, you will have to pay.
Okay. And then when does the EDV program begin? Like when?
Thursday. When
Thursday?
during move in, yeah.
Yep. All right. And then, do you need to apply for the EDV program or do you just show up? Are there
You show
time
up.
slots?
Yep, you drive up to the back. If you look at those slides, it'll tell you the address. Also, a good place to look at a lot of information is Freeman Online. So they put together a kit for us that's just special for the SFA. And they have a marshalling yard map in there. They have the EDV map in there. They have all questions you're going to need about shipping through them, anything with drayage, any quotes. If you need a quote on how much something would cost, you can do it all through Freeman Online. And that's within the Exhibitor Services Hub. And it's also through your exhibitor dashboard.
Another question about like booth kind of stuff. How do you get electric? Is it something that you pay for? And how does that get set up?
Yes, you have to pay for electric, and Javits is responsible for electric for our summer show. Out west, when we go to our winter show, that is Freeman. But here on the west, I mean on the East Coast at Javits, you actually purchase it through the Jake portal, and that's Javits portal. You go in there, you set up an account, and you can order electric that way.
Okay. Can people like mount TVs and like lights or anything like that in their booth?
You can do both. We do not, sound is not permitted, so you cannot have sound of any sort. No music. And if you do put a TV up there, obviously no sound can happen, right? You can have pictures and videos, but no sound. For lights, if you do decide to have lights, you'll actually have to send that to me for approval. And again, it's mhilton@specialtyfood.com.
Okay. Awesome. All right, we're gonna jump back into sampling. So we have some folks that have been asking about prepackaged products that are not that 2-ounce rule. What do you
Mhm.
typically suggest for folks with those types of products? For
I
sampling?
would, sure. If nothing, if your product does not fall into, the rules or regulations of what we've put on the deck, contact Cultivated, and they will tell you and advise you on what you'll need to do. In Cultivated, you can find that information through the sampling forms. And then also on our website under vendor contacts and order forms, you'll be able to see Cultivated's contact information.
Okay. When there is sampling, do they have to like notify if there's like nuts or allergens of anything, any kinds like that, or show that they're like especially for international groups, like the labeling, are there any rules around those types of
I'm
things?
I'm pretty sure there's not. That's something that again you could ask Cultivated, but there's nothing that it's no standard of ours.
Okay. Are there any items that are not allowed at a booth? So like extension cords or I don't know. I'm trying to think of anything that wouldn't be okay.
A microphone, right, with sound. Music, definitely not. I mean, you will find probably 2 or 3 exhibitors each show will try to play music, and a floor manager will come and tell them to turn it off. And again, if they keep on doing it, they'll be asked to leave. So please don't play music. Don't have somebody giving a presentation. If you have a TV or a monitor of any sort, there's no sound allowed. The open flame is a big one. You just want to make sure that if you are cooking with an open flame, if you have candles or you're using tea light to warm anything up, you do have to let me know. I have to put you on a list for the fire marshal. If not, then we will either get fined or you could get fined for not having that. So those are probably the 2 big ones.
Okay. Um, we're jumping back to sampling again. So you
Okay.
mentioned plastic cups. Are there other ways that people can serve their samples, like on a plate or a napkin or like a fork, anything like that? Or is it
You
strictly?
can. You can put it on a serving and you can use a fork. We don't have the health department walking, but Cultivated could be walking around, and they could, if it's something that doesn't fall into the rules and regulations, they could ask you to change it. But for more information on that, I would definitely contact Cultivated.
Okay. And we have the age-old question: how many samples do I bring?
Okay, so for this one, it's hard to say, right? Because it differs depending on how large your booth is, how much traffic you get. I would advise you to go to our website. We have exhibitor videos on there that you can listen to. There's past exhibitors will give suggestions and advice. We do hear that 300 a day might be like the magic number of thing, to be prepared for. But again, I would go on and listen to those videos, and I would listen to, your exhibitors have done it before.
Okay. Then the next one is about getting to their booth. So like when is like the first day that they can get to their booth and start setting up?
Sure. So move-in starts on Thursday. Exhibitors have access to the exhibit floor at 7 a.m. Labor does not start until 8 a.m. So if you need something carried or cold storage, if you need anything to happen through Freeman, that does not start until 8 o'clock. However, you can get on the exhibit floor at 7 starting on Thursday.
Okay. And then what if you have to leave your booth unattended? Like when is it ever okay to leave it unattended with stuff? Like what is the common practice around that?
If you need to leave your booth for any reason, you need to schedule a temp to man your booth. It cannot be unmanned. A big one is the last day of the show, we wrap up at 3 p.m. You're going to see some of your fellow exhibitors start wrapping up a little earlier. That's not allowed. We actually do send out letters after the show if we see that you left earlier. There's a system, there's a penalty system where you could lose your priority points, you could lose your ability to exhibit. Do not leave earlier than 3 or 5 o'clock on the first 2 days of the show, and 3 the last day. Do not leave early. And if for any reason you have to leave your booth, then you are to schedule a temp to stand there and man it for you.
Okay. And then food storage and ice. So we're thinking the people that have the foods that need to stay cold,
Yep.
or things to store throughout the show. What does that look like?
Okay. So if you're shipping your product to the Javits and you need it to be stored in a freezer, you need to put labels on it, which you can get through Freeman online. So when it gets there, Freeman will have no idea this needs to go into a freezer if there's not labels on it, right? So put the labels on there, they'll put it in the freezer for you. Throughout the show, if you need to store your stuff in cold storage, you can do that. There is a fee for it, and you'll have to fill out the form on Freeman Online and pay for cold storage. If you want to have a small cooler at your booth that fits under, a table or fits inside your booth of any sort, and you want ice in it, you can definitely do that. You don't have to pay for storage, cold storage, if you don't need to. We also have a vendor, Lowe's Refrigeration, that you can order through them and rent refrigeration and freezers that can go into your booth. Some people actually bring a small college refrigerator with them, and they put it under their table, which you can do that too. But if you do need to rent cold storage, you would do that through Freeman Online.
Okay. So, and then another question kind of around this is different, but for warehouse storage, do you have to apply, notify, what does the process look like for warehouse storage?
Sure. You just have to actually have it shipped in between those dates that are on that deck. There are certain dates. So if you actually ship it there past the last date, there will be a fee. They'll accept it. They're not going to turn it down. And they will, then they will drive it over to the Javits, but there will be a fee if it gets there after that date.
Starting to thin out a little bit.
Sure. There was a question on the list that you sent me prior about an international exhibitor trying to ship. If you need to ship from overseas, then you would contact our custom broker, is Phoenix Logistics, and they will help you do that. If you need help finding a carrier, if you're in the United States domestically and you need help getting your stuff to the Javits shipped, you can also contact Freeman Transportation, and they will help you. They will give you suggestions on freight carriers. They'll help you through the whole process. Again, so you can find Phoenix Logistics. You can find that on our website. under vendor order forms and contacts. And Freeman Transportation, that number you can find within Freeman Online.
Okay. Is there like regular storage, not refrigerated, just like, for chips or something that doesn't need to be temperature controlled?
Yes, there is. You can do that again through Freeman.
Okay, perfect. Um, when do like booths need to be ready to go?
Sure, an hour before the show. So you'll see on the deck that debut district, there's buyer access at 9 a.m. So that means by 8 o'clock, everybody has to be on the show floor and your booth has to be ready. Once attendees are on that show floor, you cannot you can't bring anything in two wheels. You can't build anything, you can't hire labor. All it has to stop at 8 a.m. on Sunday.
Okay. Speaking of building, is there any circumstance where like you would be allowed to build your booth, or does that have to be through Freeman?
You can hire another contractor. If you hire a EAC, which is exhibitor appointed contractor, it does have to be approved by Javits. So there are EACs that come in and Javits has no idea who they are, and they actually won't be allowed to be in the building. They'll have to register. You have to register them ahead of time. They can build your booth. They'll come in. They'll build it. They'll bring, whatever you paid them for. They'll bring signage. They'll bring tools, whatever it is. They can come in and they can build that. But with that too, they'll build it, and they'll also actually have to hire labor as well. So it's kind of a combination in that building. But make sure too, if you are using a contractor of any sort, you do have to register them. And to register, you would go to your exhibitor dashboard under register your EAC.
Now we're getting a real like smattering of stuff, so it's hard to push
Okay,
things together.
of course.
So there was a question about like leaving things at the booth. So is there security of any kind that keeps an eye on booths or like keeps an eye on samples, things like that?
We do have security. However, they're not going to be walking up and down through all that square footage. If you have anything valuable that you do not want to leave in your booth, then I would take it home, or you can lock it up in security. I wouldn't leave it if it's extremely valuable. I would not leave it in your booth overnight.
Another question was like, are people allowed to sample other booths? Like, are you allowed to work with each other, like cross promote? What are the rules around those things?
No is the question. I mean, no is the answer, but we might not always know if you're doing it. You definitely can't sample in the aisles. So if you have a neighbor beside you, you guys can't like sit there and like go back and forth in the aisles and help each other out that way. The rule is that whatever's in your booth, whatever you are sampling, you have to be the manufacturer. So the answer is no. But we would probably be able to know that you're doing it on site. But no, you're not allowed to hand out anything that you do not manufacture yourself. There is actually one thing too that I wanted to point out, and I don't think we had any questions about that. But for your leads, lead retrieval. So lead retrieval is how you're going to get your leads. So if someone comes up to your booth and they're talking to you and you want to know who they are, you would have your lead retrieval either on your phone, or you could purchase a machine and you would take a picture of their badge. And that's how you get their information. So then after you can follow up, that's the only way to do it. Lead retrieval, there's an order form on the website under the Exhibitor Services Hub or in the dashboard. And you would order that ahead of time and you would pick it up on site at the Javits.
Are folks allowed to hand out flyers, brochures, merchandise like caps or fridge magnets?
Yes, you are, but inside your booth, right? So probably once every show, you're gonna get a mascot that's like walking around. That's not allowed. You can't have anybody dressed up walking around. You can hire food temps. You can hire someone that gives out samples in your booth, but they have to be standing in the booth. They can't be outside of the booth and they can't be walking around. If you want to give a ball cap, if you want to give some swag out, you can definitely do that, but it has to be in your booth.
Okay. Could you tell us how many badges like each booth gets and like the max amount of people that can be in a booth at a time?
Sure. So for every 10 by 10 booth, you get 5 comp badges. You also get an extra allotment that you can purchase at $50 each. So if you have a 10 by 10, you get five badges for free. And you're also allowed to purchase 5 more. After that, you'd be actually having to purchase attendee badges, not exhibitor badges.
Could you talk about just like the different kinds of advertising opportunities that are available or like what they can do on social media, like that kind of stuff?
Sure. Sure. So that's not my forte. However, there is an engagement kit that you can look at. If you go onto your dashboard, there's an engagement kit right on the top right hand tile. It's actually a list of all the media, all the sponsorships. If you want to do a spotlight showcase, which is a good opportunity on site, you can purchase it there, and you can take a look at the engagement kit all in your dashboard.
I'm also going to shamelessly plug our upcoming webinar, Build Your
Yeah.
Booth Buzz, which is tomorrow, where we get to talk about all of the different opportunities that SFA has available to you as exhibitors to help, generate that buzz. So anything from social media to working with our press office to bigger things like sponsorships of different, different events that we have going on. We're going to be having that. So I just dropped the link in so you can go ahead and register for that. I think we are starting to get to, I think, closer to the end. Um, uh,
Another important thing when you're looking for questions,
yep.
another important thing is your floor manager. So when you get on site, there's actually a floor manager that is assigned to each section on the floor. If you have any questions, if you can't find your freight, if there's a poll or a column in your booth, if there is something that's going on, you have an issue with, and you need help, go to your floor manager. They're actually the first person that will be able to help you, and they're going to be able to walk you through what to do if you need to order something, if you have an issue with your samples, your freight, lead retrieval, where to pick something up. They can help you. That's the first thing. Again, when you get there too, make sure you have all your orders. So if you place orders for furniture or for lead retrieval, for electric, make sure when you get there that you make sure that you're looking to make sure you have it. Don't wait until 8 a.m. on Sunday, because if you do, you won't be able to get it until the end of the day. So say you don't have 2 chairs that you ordered and it's after 8 a.m. on Sunday, the show opens, right? There will be no chairs delivered to you or tables delivered to you until after the show is closed. So make sure that when you get on site, that all the orders that you place and everything that you need, you have it at your booth.
Okay. I think that could you just go over the food sampling? Like if you need to order food for your product, like to add to your product to
Yes.
serve it, could you just go over that again? We have a couple more.
Sure. Sure, of course. Okay. So when whoever's sampling, right, if you decide to sample, which believe it or not, there are some folks at the show that don't sample, that actually just have like a presentation, and they might just hand out pamphlets or sell sheets. Not everybody samples. So if you are sampling, the first thing you have to do is you have to fill out the sampling form and you have to submit it. It's actually a Google Doc. So you go through you actually go to the dashboard, and there's a Google Doc. You're going to submit that to Cultivated so that they know what you're bringing on site, and they're going to approve it. If they do not approve it, you'll hear from them and they'll say you cannot bring this. When you're doing that, you're also in that sampling form, you're going to tell them things that you need, right? So if my product is a sauce, a jam and I need to order crackers, you're going to, within that sampling form, you're going to say, I need to purchase crackers. And they're going to tell you where to purchase it. And that's kind of like the way that you would do it. But you definitely have to purchase any outside food that you do not manufacture. And the same thing with alcohol. Remember, if you have alcohol at your booth, you have to have a bartender, and it has to be a cultivated bartender.
All right. I have another good one about insurance. So
Yeah,
what does that process look like? What do you need to do?
sure. Everyone that is exhibiting at the show has to have insurance. They all have to have your own insurance. We need you to upload that through your dashboard. So you'd go to your dashboard. There's a tile there that says exhibitor assurance, and there's an upload. There's an upload tool. Once you click on it, you would click and you'd submit your insurance. Freeman, Specialty Food Association, and Javits all have to be listed as an additional insurers. And if you do not have insurance, you actually will not be able to set up your booth on site. You will actually, your floor manager will come to you and actually do a stop job where you will not be able to. If you need to purchase insurance, say you have your own and you don't want to use it or you don't have it at all, we do have a vendor, Rain Protection, where you can contact them and you can purchase insurance for the 3 days that you're there. And that order form is on the website and it's also on the dashboard.
For like booth activities, like say that you wanted to, invite someone to like inaugurate your booth, or you wanted to do a raffle, or you wanted to do like something fun. What are the rules around that?
Okay. If you want to invite your customers, you can go on the website, on the dashboard, and there is a tool there to invite your customers. If you want to have a celebrity come to your booth to do a book signing, a chef of any sort, you actually do have to send me an email and we have to approve it. We have to make sure that they don't need security, and we need to make sure that your booth is actually situated in a situation where if there's a long line that we can handle that. So for those things, you send me an email. If you want to do a raffle or like a game of some sort, we actually don't allow that. You'll see it on our website. We actually have seen at a different shows, they'll have like that little windmill that kind of goes in a circle and you can win a prize. We actually don't allow that at our show. And you'll see that is listed on the rules and regulations on the website.
Can you host meetings? Like if you have a buyer come in, can you invite them back? Or like is there a specific place that they can meet with them?
We do have meeting rooms. So if you do need to rent a meeting room, you can contact operations at specialtyfood.com. My colleague Lindsay will get you in contact with our other colleague that manages that meeting room program. If you want to host a happy hour of some sort at your booth, that will actually have to go through me for approval. M. Hilton at specialtyfood.com. Do we have more questions?
It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but I do think that we have answered a good majority of them. So I think, Michelle, just to kind of wrap this up, like what are like what's the main thing that people need to be doing to make sure that they're staying on top of everything?
Sure. Go to your dashboard. So once you are a confirmed exhibitor, which all of you are on this call, you have a exhibitor dashboard through Map Your Show. You go there, there's a checklist that will show you all the deadlines for order forms, insurance, sampling form, the comp booth package. I would look over that, make sure you're looking through that. I would also purchase a spotlight showcase if you're looking for another sponsorship or a media opportunity of any sort. You can do that through the dashboard. You want to make sure that you have your sampling form in and your insurance form in. You will not be able to sample without that form, and you will not be able to set up without insurance. Those two things as well. When you get on site, Again, make sure all of your stuff is there. If you ordered electric, make sure the day you get there, you have electric. If you have labor, if you have storage, anything that you ordered, all your freight, make sure it's there the day of, don't wait. And if you have a problem, go to your floor manager.
All right.
That's what I
So,
said. Probably the most important things are. Yeah.
okay. And I know that my team is kind of frantically answering the last few
Yeah.
questions in there. So just as kind of like some housekeeping for everyone on the call, this call has been recorded. So you can't go back and read through everything. So this will be posted on the Booth Camp website in the next like 2 days or so, and you'll be able to access the recording. You will be able to get the slides. Like I said, the slides were sent to you prior to this webinar, so you can take a look through those. There's links that are clickable. Again, make sure that you are logged into Map Your Show prior to clicking on some of those links, because it'll just send you right to it, which is super helpful. The other piece is if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to operations at specialtyfood.com. This is where you can send any of the questions that you're just not sure of. Make sure that you're going on to Map Your Show and checking those things out. And then please remember to sign up for our next webinar, which is Build Your Booth Buzz. That is happening tomorrow. And again, this is an opportunity to understand like how you can work and partner with the SFA to really bring your booth to life with different types of advertising opportunities and just some good like best practices of how to make this an awesome show. And yeah, I think that we have covered everything. So big round of applause to Michelle for answering. I want to say, I think the number, over 100 questions, Michelle, in 45 minutes.
Nice.
So bravo. But yes, seriously, thank you so much for coming. And we hope to see you tomorrow. Have a good one.
Awesome. Thank you.